The sun burned mercilessly over the small frontier town of Ash Hollow as a funeral procession wound its way to the graveyard on the edge of town. Dust rose around boots and wagon wheels, while whispers carried heavier than the preacher's words. The coffin was simple pine, sealed tight with iron nails. Inside, they said, lay Eli Hardin, the gunfighter who had once been both feared and respected in equal measure. But no one dared lift the lid, for the body was said to be mangled and broken, the face beyond recognition after a bloody encounter with a gang of outlaws. The preacher read his scripture, the widow, Clara, stood in her black veil, and the sheriff declared justice done. Ash Hollow buried Eli Hardin that day. The earth closed over him, the crowd dispersed, and the town believed one of its most dangerous men was gone forever, but death has a way of leaving questions behind. That same night, under the pale wash of moonlight, strange whispers began to take hold. A farmer on the outskirts swore he had seen a rider passing by his fields tall in the saddle, coat trailing behind like a black shroud. He carried no lantern, no companion, and his face or what should have been a face was nothing but shadow. Horses bucked wildly in their pens, dogs whined and clawed at doors, and women swore they heard boots pacing outside their windows long after midnight. By morning, the tale spread through the saloon, growing darker with each retelling. They called him the rider with no face. The town grew uneasy. Men who had stood tall during shootouts now refused to walk alone at night. Mothers clutched children closer when the wind carried strange noises. The boy who swept floors at the livery claimed he saw a faceless rider leave flowers on Clara Hardin's porch in the dead of night. Clara herself denied it, though her hands trembled when asked. She said her husband was gone, that she had seen the coffin buried with her own eyes. Yet deep inside, in the silent hours, she felt a presence watching something that was not gone, something that did not rest. The sheriff grew restless too, though not out of superstition. He had his own reasons for fearing shadows. For he knew more about Eli Hardin's death than he let on. Hardin had been left for dead after a gunfight with a ruthless outlaw gang, and when the body was found, the sheriff himself had ordered a quick burial. He claimed it was to spare the town the sight of a broken corpse, but the truth ran deeper. There were secrets buried in that grave, secrets the sheriff and a preacher both shared, tied to their dealings with the very gang Eli had fought against. Then came the night the saloon fell silent. A storm raged outside, wind howling through the shutters, lightning flashing across the plains. The doors swung open and a figure stepped in. Tall, broad-shouldered, draped in a dust-black coat, a wide hat shadowing his features. When he removed the hat, the crowd recoiled in horror. Bandages wrapped his head where a face should be. Hollow sockets glimmered with burning eyes, and a voice rasped like gravel against steel. The room froze as he moved forward, boots striking heavy on the floorboards. Though no words of greeting came, everyone knew who stood before them. It was Eli Hardin. The man they buried. The man they had mourned. The rider with no face. What followed was not the return of a man seeking forgiveness, nor a spirit looking for peace. Eli had not come back for life, he had come back for justice. Left for dead, disfigured beyond recognition, betrayed by those who should have stood beside him, he clawed his way out of the earth itself. His body bore scars of bullet wounds, his face a ruined mask hidden beneath wrappings, his soul sharpened into something merciless. Rumors turned to revelation. Eli told of how the sheriff and the preacher had betrayed him, how they had struck a deal with the outlaws to control Ash Hollow from the shadows. The duel that had scarred him was not just fate, it had been a setup. The men he trusted had abandoned him in the dust, letting him bleed, burying him before his last breath could escape. It was not just his face that had been stolen that day, it was his very place in the world. The rider with no face became a storm of vengeance. One by one, those who had conspired against him found themselves staring into hollow bandages and burning eyes. The sheriff was the first to fall, dragged from his office at midnight, his badge pinned against his chest like a mockery. The preacher who had spoken over Eli's grave was next, found slumped at the altar, hands clutching the Bible he had so often twisted for greed. The outlaw gang that had once thought Eli gone forever soon learned the truth, their nights filled with dread as the faceless rider hunted them across canyons and plains. Each death carried whispers that spread faster than gunfire. Some claimed Eli was no longer a man, but something worse, something death itself had rejected. Others swore he was still flesh and blood, driven only by rage and memory. But none denied the trail of bodies left in his wake. Ash Hollow watched as its leaders and villains fell, one by one, until the town itself seemed haunted, waiting for boots to echo across the street at night, waiting for the faceless rider to pass by. The final reckoning came beneath the gallows on the edge of town, the very place where justice had once been promised but never delivered. Lightning split the sky as Eli stood there, cloak whipping in the storm, facing the last of his betrayers. No trial was held, no jury gathered. Justice was swift and merciless, handed down by the man who had already risen from his own grave. When the storm cleared, Ash Hollow awoke to silence. The sheriff was gone, the preacher gone, the gang gone. And Eli Hardin, the rider with no face, was gone as well. His horse was last seen riding west into the desert, a lone figure against the endless horizon. Some claimed he died out there, body finally giving out where no one could see. Others believed he still roams the frontier, faceless, restless, a living ghost searching not for redemption but for the justice that was stolen from him. The people of Ash Hollow still tell his story in hushed voices, around firelight and whiskey glasses. They say the rider with no face cannot die, for death already tried and failed to claim him. They say his hollow eyes watch over the guilty, waiting, judging, reminding all who hear his tale that the earth may swallow a man, but the truth always claws its way back out, and so the legend rides on. The man they buried, the man without a face, the man who returned from his own funeral.